This morning, D-Day is in focus. Now, 80 years after what became known as the beginning of the end of World War II, we're exploring East Texas connections. This morning, students from Longview High School are retracing that history in a significant way. They're spending a week in France, learning about the people and places that changed our world. GMA's Luckie is live this morning. Lane, this was the landing site of the invasion where it all began.
Good morning, Victoria. Of course, it's day 4 of Longview High School's trip abroad. The choir is supposed to be here. They're actually right now supposed to be on Omaha Beach, but some new developments just coming in. They were supposed to, again, be trekking through the same sand dunes where American heroes fought and died 80 years ago, but instead they're sitting right here on this charter bus waiting with little information at this point because of an unplanned presidential visit. President Joe Biden, as you just heard, is in the area within a few miles of where we are. More on that in just a moment. But this area really is so significant because the U.S. and its allies chose 5 sites here along the coast at Normandy, along the English Channel, to surprise the German forces occupying northern France. Now, what happened here back in 1944 is still so hard to comprehend for many. Omaha Beach, of course, was the most restricted and heavily defended of all of the 5 landing sites on D-Day. The terrain was unforgiving. Now, despite the cancellation of today's plans, these students are really trying to form a connection with that history and, of course, the lives that they're trying to honor with this trip.
There was a speech that a guy gave yesterday that really changed my view on it. He told us to take a picture of a gravestone or a name and look him up and study his story and where he came from and how he got there, and it was just really interesting to me, and I think that it's very beautiful that we are here and we get to celebrate all the people that have sacrificed everything for freedom of a country.
Utah beaches on D-Day. Many of you will remember that this same area is depicted in the movie Saving Private Ryan. Now, securing the beaches, of course, was the key to the Allies' strategy for liberating all of France. They needed to set up a major port early on. But first they had to secure Utah Beach and its massive cliffs not far from where we are. Now, as the flagship of the naval fleet on D-Day, the USS Texas was actually the first to open fire on Pointe du Hoc at 5:50 a.m. Now, this provided cover for the landings of U.S. Army Rangers. The dreadnought fired 255 14-inch shells over the next 34 minutes before moving to a position that was here off Omaha Beach. This week, part of its hull is returning to Normandy as a special tribute on the 80th anniversary. And yes, this is the same battleship Texas that has educated generations of visitors since it was decommissioned after the war. The museum ship is now undergoing a multi-year repair project before it reopens in Galveston by late 2025.
So we take it as a personal mission to preserve this piece of history so that we can tell their stories, and so that we can provide this generation and the generation to come and those after them with the context necessary to understand what global conflict looks like and to ultimately honor and respect those who gave their life for our freedoms.
So many soldiers didn't survive D-Day at nearby Utah Beach, but this morning we are certainly reflecting on the bravery of one East Texan who did make it home.
It was a booger. In fact, it was a hell on earth, because I'll guarantee you I never thought I'd live through it. I look at that flag and I think, golly, I'm proud of being American.
That's Homer Garrett of Tyler in a 2014 interview with our retired KLTV reporter Joan Hallmark. Garrett's LST hit a mine just before landing at Utah Beach. He was hurt, but lucky. 96 others on that same landing ship were killed. Garrett spent 10 months in hospitals in England and in the U.S. Now, his story, as well as other East Texas D-Day veterans, are actually preserved for future generations. We've curated all of Joan Hallmark's Freedom Fighters reports on KLTV.com and KTRE.com, and you can go there to check them out. Now back to that presidential visit, it also means the Longview Choir will not get to perform at Normandy American Cemetery later this afternoon in a few hours. It was to include a wreath laying as well. It's been something they've been preparing for over a year. You can imagine this morning the sense of disappointment on this bus, especially after traveling all this way. We'll have more on what's next for the Longview Choir coming up as soon as we learn that on East Texas Now. Reporting live at Omaha Beach this morning, I'm Luckie for Good Morning East Texas.
Lane, thank you for walking us through those steps of history. We appreciate your coverage and hoping they get to perform soon. Now, our coverage of the 80th anniversary of D-Day does not end here. For the next several days, we'll have live reports on air and on our streaming channel, as he said, East Texas Now. And you can also learn more about East Texas connections to the Battle of Normandy on KLTV.com or KTRE.com. Just scan this QR code at the bottom of your screen with your smartphone's camera to visit our In Focus section. Or you can go online and click the tab at the top of our homepage.